this in terms of the economy of the city and the possibilities that the president might try to deport some migrants. I know we have sanctuary city issues here, but I'm wondering if you're concerned that if migrants leave because of their fears of what's going to happen, if this could adversely affect the city economy because there'll be a loss of people working and a loss of tax income, and are you worried that it will affect the city's bottom line?
Well, our city's bottom line was affected, with 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers were placed in the city without any federal assistance that was substantial. We were impacted, billions of dollars.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about New York City Democrat Mayor Eric Adams, who seems to already be trying to work with the incoming president to clean up the illegal immigrant problem that New York City is facing, okay? Because a lot of people are speculating about what is going to happen with the illegal immigrants. Of course, the far left, they're afraid of the promises that Trump made for mass deportation. But low-key, Eric Adams, who is a Democrat, I think he's kind of hoping for the mass deportations because New York City has been overwhelmed with illegal immigrants, okay? And that has been the talk of the town in New York City thus far, as Eric Adams congratulated former President Trump on winning. And up until Eric Adams spoke with President Trump, again, the speculation was about what would the federal government's role be in regards to Eric Adams and this current problem that they have in New York City with the illegal immigrants. Take a look.
Well, the return of Donald Trump to the White House is expected to have ramifications, not just around the country, but right here as in the city as well. Moments ago, Mayor Adams spoke out on the results of the election, and Morgan McKay joining us now live from City Hall. Morgan, what was his reaction, and was it surprising to you?
Bianca, Mayor Eric Adams started first by congratulating President-elect Donald Trump and incoming Vice President J.D. Vance. He says he hasn't spoken to Trump yet, but does plan to call him soon. He says that he respects the process and Americans made their voices heard last night. But he also answered questions about what this incoming administration means for migrants and vaccines. So first on migrants, the city's Immigrant Affairs Commissioner Manuel Castro says that talking about mass deportations only cause panic. City officials say that they are focused on protecting immigrant communities, but when it comes to migrants that are currently in our city shelters, Adams does not say whether he would like to see migrants move to other states in a decompression strategy like he was pushing for under the Biden administration, or if he'd be looking to the federal government to cut cities like New York a check to help care for some of these migrants. But again, city officials not commenting on any questions about deportations, telling people to not create panic over something that might not happen. Adams did emphasize that he would like to see changes to the city's sanctuary city policies by allowing ICE to cooperate with law enforcement when it comes to migrants who have committed crimes. Here is Adams with more.
We need a decompression strategy at the border to make sure that we take control of this crisis and not have this crisis take control of us. There's great opportunities if we give people the right to work, and I remain calling for that.
Now, the NYPD says they are prepared to protect people's rights to peacefully protest, but there will be no tolerance for any violence or crime. Reporting live from outside.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, I find the language that is coming from the leaders in New York City, mainly Eric Adams, to be extremely fascinating, right? You got to understand, they cannot upset the far left. But there's no doubt in my mind that Eric Adams wants the illegals gone, right? He wants them out of the city because it is a financial burden on the city, okay? And it just so happens that Trump is in a unique position in which he can help out Eric Adams, okay? Because Eric Adams is also facing what he calls political persecution, okay, from the Biden DOJ. And because Trump is taking over, Trump could possibly do something about that, right? And that's why I don't think it's a coincidence that Eric Adams decided to end the food stamps for migrants program. You guys remember that program where they were giving out debit cards, EBT cards to illegal immigrants, right? This is what they were doing, giving them taxpayer dollars, free money to buy whatever they want, food, right? Because they didn't like the food that the shelter was giving to them. Yeah, Eric Adams finally spoke with Trump, and it just so happens that after that conversation, New York City seems to be straightening themselves out when it comes to just funding this illegal immigrant crisis and giving away taxpayer dollars to people who didn't pay into the system. Take a look.
The city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food, ending a controversial program that had repeatedly come under attack by conservatives and others.
This pilot program in New York City, drenched in both humanity and controversy, distributed debit cards to migrant families staying in city-funded hotels and allowing them to buy their own food. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger following the breaking news for us. Josh?
Well, Bill, it's a program that, as you say, generated plenty of controversy, but now its absence may raise even more questions. The so-called Immediate Response Cards pilot program was designed to help feed migrant families who'd found themselves in New York with no way to afford food. The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food to 2,600 migrant families, allowing them to basically buy what they wanted. A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week to cover food in a program the city said would actually save taxpayers millions a year. It also reduced food waste. You may remember the food the city had been providing in migrant shelters was seen as not culturally sensitive to the needs of some migrant groups, and it ended up just going to waste. For more than a year, the city was groaning under the weight of more than 200,000 asylum seekers. Officials say the migrant population has actually reduced lately. In fact, a massive shelter on Roosevelt Island is in the process of closing. In the meantime, Mayor Adams spoke on the phone yesterday with President-elect Donald Trump, who had vowed during his campaign to mass deport migrants. Aside from congratulating him on his win, though, Adams today would not say what they discussed.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, this is what leadership looks like, right? When you have competent leadership, when you have a strong man in office, when you have a man that doesn't play games, right? Problems tend to straighten themselves out, right? Even without the man actually being in office, right? Trump's not in office yet, but you're already starting to see the lunacy from the Democrats come to an end, right? When it comes to some of these policies. Well, why is that? Well, the reason why is because they understand that Trump is not somebody to be played with, right? And Trump has promised mass deportations, and mass deportations is something that the far left is afraid of, but sane Democrats like Eric Adams knows that is necessary, right? But he can't actually really say it out loud. This is why I'm paying attention to his actions more so than his words, because if you listen to his words, right, what they're saying is that, well, you know, maybe we should start requiring law enforcement to actually cooperate with ICE to deport illegal immigrants who commit crimes. Well, that effectively means ending the city's sanctuary city status, which is also something that Trump ran on, right? That's what it means, because being a sanctuary city actually really just means that law enforcement is not going to cooperate, or local law enforcement is not going to cooperate with federal law enforcement, ICE, when it comes to deporting illegal immigrants who commit crimes, which is just a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs insane policy. I'm not entirely sure why that's even a thing, right? I mean, you would think that every city would want to deport illegal immigrants who commit crimes, right? You don't want to keep the bad illegals, right? I mean, I can understand some cities saying, hey, we want the illegals for cheap labor. Okay, fine. You want to keep the good illegals, but why would you want to keep the bad ones? Okay, that's how cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs these people are, right? So they're already kind of talking about that. Also, what Eric Adams is talking about, he's not saying mass deportations, he's saying a decompression strategy. Now, we know he's not getting no money, right? I'm hoping and praying Trump is not going to send Eric Adams a check, right? Because that's what he wanted from the Biden administration, okay, to help take care of the illegals. That's definitely what Brandon Johnson wants, right? I'm pretty sure Brandon Johnson's losing his mind right now, okay? But, you know, we'll get to him at some point. I'm pretty sure he'll speak out about this. He'll have something to say, and we'll probably react to it, okay? Because he has the same issue as well, too. But what Eric Adams is talking about here is what he calls decompression, a.k.a. sending the illegals somewhere else, right? Just not New York, spreading the problem out, right? Sharing the wealth, spreading the wealth. That's what he's essentially talking about. Now, why is he saying it that way? Well, the reason why he's saying it that way because he's trying to soften it up. But in my opinion, I think that President Trump and Eric Adams could really help each other out in this situation, and they're actually the perfect partners because Trump definitely, as president, wants to clean up the illegal immigration problem, and is definitely not going to look good for President Trump if this illegal immigration problem continues in these liberal cities. So Trump is in a position where it kind of makes sense for him to work out some deal with Eric Adams, who also needs Trump because he has this federal indictment, this case against him, these federal charges that Trump could make go away. So think about it, right? These are two peas in a pod here. Trump will look very good if all of a sudden New York City's illegal immigrant problem cleaned itself up, right? Through cooperation with the federal government and Democrats to decompress the illegals out of the city, aka let's just stop funding this, okay? Which is essentially what this voucher program was, okay? Because although there are less illegal immigrants, they're still there, right? So the reason why he ended it is because, again, they're trying to get rid of them, right? That's what they're trying to do. And that will look really good for Trump if all of a sudden New York's illegal immigrant problem cleaned itself up. Now, again, he needs Eric Adams' help in order to do that because a lot of it really is on the local officials. So if they work together to clean up this problem, Trump can come out here and take a victory lap and say, listen, I already cleaned up the problem in New York City. I already cleaned it up, and I work with a Democrat to do it. We cleaned it up. See, this is what competent leadership is. Eric Adams, on the other hand, he can get that pardon, or Trump can put some attorney general in place that will essentially kill the case against him, and Eric Adams can essentially walk away a free man and reinvent himself, right? As this bipartisan Democrat who is, for common sense solutions. He's not a part of the woke left that just lost to Trump in a landslide, right? He's not a part of that. This is a great political opportunity for Eric Adams and President Trump. And what you're saying right now is the early process of getting this issue cleaned up. Because again, optically speaking, it would look very good for Trump if this problem was fixed soon, right? I mean, because again, the imagery, right, of those illegals being in these cities, taking over these apartments, doing all these crazy, is not going to look good for Trump if that is still happening under his administration. So if he can go ahead and clean up New York City, if he can go ahead and start working with these Democrats in order to solve the problem, but figure out a way to do it that in a way that's going to be beneficial for both parties, right? Then that's going to be a W, right? That's a W for the Democrats that want to be on the side of common sense, to be on the side of sanity, right? And that's going to be a W for the Trump administration. So I think that's what's happening here. 100%. 100%. And, I am very fascinated to see exactly what happens. I just got a feeling that a lot of the things that we saw in the Biden administration when it comes to this illegal immigrant problem in these liberal cities, a lot of that is about to go away, right? When it comes to the Democrats that actually want to work with the federal government to have a decompression operation, right? In which, magically the illegals disappear, right? Again, one of the ways you can do that is to just stop funding it, right? Stop giving them money, and they're going to have to go somewhere, right? They're going to have to go somewhere else. And that's the first step. The first step is to stop funding it, right? And once you do that, a lot of the illegals will deport themselves, okay? Because it's going to be hard to survive if you're not getting free money in order to support yourself and your family. And the illegals that decide that, hey, you know what? I'm going to live a life of crime in order to get by, then, hey, if we start deporting these people, if law enforcement actually starts to do their jobs and to work with ICE to get them deported, then yeah, that is how you kind of get the mass deportations going, okay? It's not going to be what the Democrats are fear-mongering about, federal agents going into people's houses and taking out kids and families and sending them across the border. That's not how it's going to start. It's going to start by, again, stop funding it, okay, and getting rid of the criminals, right? The people that are currently here committing crimes. That's where it starts. And then we continue from there. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.